What's up, Laker Nation? It's your boy AO with another episode of the Lakers for Life pod. Today, we're going to talk about the last 48 hours of free agency. Did the Lakers win free agency? How did they come out? We'll break down some of the players that we acquired, the players that we re-signed. But all in all, an exciting 48 hours. Just about the tail end of what we're supposed to be doing to finish off the roster. So we'll see how that kind of pans out. Maybe we get an update during this. But until then, let's break down what we did. So at the start of free agency, I had kind of three, I'd say, holes that I wanted to fill. One was we needed another big, preferably a bigger big, defensive, was able to rebound, defend the rim. And if they could stretch the floor, points added. The second thing was a wing, a true 3-and-D wing that we can have to guard bigger players on the perimeter and be able to knock down that three ball consistently, change up how teams scheme against us on the defensive side. And then the last thing was, more of a veteran point guard, more of a bigger defensive point guard, someone that could be a true playmaker and really activate an offense, know their role. Those were kind of like the three kind of baseline wants that I was expecting out of free agency. It's a tall order, but, was hoping we could fill in at least two of the three, if not three of the three, right? So with that said, how did we do? So the first player I'm going to touch on, I think was my favorite signing of free agency, and that was Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince, if you guys remember from last season, the couple games that we had to play in, there was a late end of season game that, where we played Minnesota, and Taurean Prince killed us, especially from the perimeter. And he brings that exact skill set that we wanted, that I mentioned at the beginning of this, that we wanted out of a wing. 6'7", 6'8", just about. Shoots 38% from three, over 40% from the corner three ball, and it's a solid defender. Solid defender. It's someone that we can, match up on the Paul Georges, the Kawhis, the Kevin Porters, the Michael Porter, sorry, and have someone there that we know can not only just defend at a high level, but keeps the defense honest on the other end. And if you remember in that Denver series, and even in the playoffs, regardless, we were playing guys like Vando. A lot of teams were packing in the paint, almost to a point where Vando was wide open. They were baiting him to take the shot. I think with Taurean Prince now out there, you can't just let him shoot corner threes. And if you do, I'm totally cool with him letting it rain from out on the perimeter. You put him in that Denver series that we just had. I don't know if we'd necessarily win, but I think it'd be a lot different of an outcome. And we kept that pretty close. So I thought Taurean Prince was a great signing. Yes, he can be inconsistent on the offensive end. We saw some of those concerns, after we signed him. But look, we have LeBron James out there. We have Anthony Davis out there. We have Austin Reeves out there. We'll get into D'Angelo. We're going to have him out there. To be honest, he's out there. He's there to do one job. That's two jobs, to hit the corner three, or just the three in general, to keep the defense honest and just give us that defensive intensity. And I think he's going to be a huge add. Will he start? I'm not sure on opening day if he will, but if Rui ends up starting, having Rui, Vando, and now Taurean Prince to really bolster our forward rotation, I think is definitely a huge pickup for us. You can never have enough wings, and I think Taurean Prince fits the mold as an individual that's really going to help us this season. So really excited about Taurean Prince. That gets me to our next signing. And by the way, with Taurean Prince, he was on the BAE. So we kicked off free agency signing Taurean Prince for that around $4 million deal exception. And that built a lot of excitement up. I thought that was a steal. That was a great add. But so we added him. We had the MLE left. Roughly a $12.4 million contract, I believe. So it was like, okay, who are we getting for this? There was thoughts of, are we going to split the MLE? There was all of the Bruce Brown stuff that was going on before free agency kicked off, which I thought was just a bunch of smoke. When you get that much hype around a player going to a team, it's a smoke screen. There's some agenda getting pushed. The theory was, okay, maybe it's cap space teams. His camp wanted to wake them up. Hey, he's about to go to LA. Let's use the Lakers as leverage, like every player in this league, right? But we saw that Indiana gave Bruce Brown a huge contract, over $20 million per year. So with him gone, it was very interesting. I think Laker fans were scared. Are we going to split the MLE to bring back Dennis, to bring back, maybe do Eric Gordon? And, there was a lot of nervousness. I, for one, had anxiety on what we were going to do. But then we got the news that we signed Gabe Vincent. And I'm not going to lie, that definitely surprised me. I saw him out there as a free agent. I did have a feeling that we were going to bring Dennis back, but we didn't. We brought Gabe Vincent back. And he was an interesting player. I know there was a lot of concern at why are we paying Gabe Vincent $11 million per year for 3 years. It appears that Miami gave him $8.5 million. That wasn't enough. If you're going to pry a player away, you have to, overpay. So, there was some of that concern, but, overall, I thought it was a good signing for a backup point guard. And when we did sign him, I was kind of like, okay, we better be getting D'Lo because he cannot be our starting point guard. It'd be the same problem that we had kind of with Dennis when he was here. But what does Gabe Vincent bring? I mean, deep run with Miami, huge contributor to Miami's season. And we'll get into some of the concerns and stuff, but he was a contributor on that team that made it to the finals, had a great playoff run. He was there. He did play during the Eastern Conference Finals run before, this 2 seasons ago. But he's a gritty player. Will challenge on the defensive end, has that dog in him. He's coming from the Miami culture. So I think he's steady. And I think he's someone that is going to know his role. The shooting was streaky. I started looking into his stats, and I was actually really surprised to see his career 3-point percentage be as low as it was. He was shooting almost 33% from 3 in the regular season, but that number jumped up in the playoffs, which is great to see. Almost about 38%. So streaky shooter, it's not solidified, but then again, Dennis was not the best of shooters either. A little bit bigger than Dennis. He's listed at 6'2", 6'3", I've seen on some sites. But I think a solid player, if we can kind of establish his role, what are you here to do when you're on the floor with a LeBron, with an AD, when Austin Reeves is on the floor? We staggering lineups with some of more of our scorers, right? What are you there to do? I think he's a great backup option for that. I mean, he's a great player. That had a great playoff run, and I'm hoping he can take that momentum that he had from the playoff run and capitalize on it and bring that here to the Lakers in a backup role for D'Angelo. So I'm excited for Gabe Vincent. I thought, again, it was a surprise move that signaled Dennis was out of here, and sure enough, he signed a big deal, lucrative deal with Toronto. Congrats to him. Well-deserved. Darvin Ham definitely set that up for him, but, there were some great moments with Dennis, and, he's going to do his thing over in Toronto, but I think Gabe Vincent in that backup point guard role is going to be good for us, and if we can really define that role and he can keep that shooting consistency up, but still maintain that defensive intensity, I think we're going to be in a solid place. I think that guard rotation between him, Russell, and Reeves is looking really, really good. So I think a solid pickup, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he gels with our core. So that takes me to the next couple signings, which, were veteran minimum signings, so not the highest risk right? I think Rob did a great job with the BAE, with the mid-level exception. But we signed later that Friday night. The Cam Reddish rumor finally came true. He's finally a Laker. We brought our clutch reclamation project. You know, Cam Reddish, he's been bouncing around the league. Was traded for a first round pick to New York. Then, went to Portland for Josh Hart. And, now to us. And, he's got the physical tools, and he's the archetype of a traditional 3-and-D wing. He's a big kid, 6'7", 6'8", almost. I just think he's going to be more upside for us. I was indifferent about this signing. Look, we have Taurean Prince, which was great. If we would have brought him in as our primary backup wing, I would have been very, very concerned, but why not take a flyer? He's had flashes in this league. He can hit the three. He can score he could score in the paint. And he has the tools to defend at a high level. I think we just need our development team to really hone him in. But, there's upside. And we have a lot of upside players on our roster between Max Christie, Cam Reddish, our draft picks. We'll get into Jackson Hayes. But, Rob took a flyer on him. Hey, maybe it pans out. Maybe with Phil Handy, maybe with our development system, he can have kind of a turnaround season like Malik Monk did. Like, Lonnie Walker had a great season. Troy Brown. We do have these projects where they come into our system, they end up coming out, in a better place. And I'm hoping Cam Reddish can develop over the season. Where do I think he's placed, in our roster? I think he could be a 2 or a 3. He's a wing at the end of the day. I think Max Christie has the backup 2 spot behind Reeves locked up, at least at the start of camp. I think Cam Reddish is going to be behind Taurean Prince in terms of the backup 3 role. And Vando will take care of the backup 4. So, between Rui, Taurean Prince, and Vando, I think we kind of have our forwards, and obviously LeBron James. But I think we kind of have that forward rotation set. So he's going to really need to play well if he wants time on the floor. And I'm hoping that's motivation for him, and we see a different side to him. So again, upside, indifferent about that signing. If he pans out, great. If he doesn't, low risk, end of bench. Let's see what happens, But I don't necessarily think it was a bad pickup. You see the Eric Gordons and stuff go to Phoenix for the vet min. Maybe ring chasing. I don't know what Eric Gordon's role would have necessarily been, but did we miss out on anything crazy? I don't think so with the two free agents that we picked up with the BAE and the mid-level exception. So very interesting to see what Cam Reddish does, which now brings me to Jackson Hayes, which took place Saturday morning. We needed to get a big. We had some forwards, we had some guards, but we needed a big. Jackson Hayes on the roster as our backup big primarily right now. Super, super, super athletic. I think everyone Googled, highlight clips of him or looked up his scouting reports and analysis on him, and he's super athletic and a lot of upside in that regard. And you see him dunking on like so many different people on YouTube. But just undisciplined defender. I think I was seeing some tweets all throughout Saturday of, he's kind of the early version of what JaVale McGee was. And now, he's another upside player that's coming into a system that could maybe hone his skill set, define his role, optimize his strengths. And I think if he can build that defensive awareness in Darvin's system, I think he could have good upside. I mean, he clearly has the athleticism to defend the rim. Can we get him into the spots where he can succeed? I haven't really looked into where he's the best, but it's got to be in the dunker spot. I mean, he shoots at a very, very high field goal percentage, which is good. We need kind of a lob threat at the rim. We need a rim runner when we get out on the break. So I think he's a good big to have on the roster. I think he's super young still. But one thing I will say, I'm not comfortable at the big spot just yet. We have a 14th roster spot. It was confirmed by Dave McMenamin that we were going to use it on a big. I think we need to bring someone in that's a veteran presence, that's sturdy. Which leads me into the 14th roster spot. With Jackson Hayes signed, I think he's a great third big. We have Castleton as well, but we need a veteran. My ideal person would be Mason Plumlee, but I find it very hard to believe that he's going to come on the veteran minimum. Seeing what the centers have gone for in free agency. I mean, Mo Wagner got 2 years, $16 million. Jack Landale, even though it's 1 year guaranteed, got $8 million for his first year. Dwight Powell even got $4 million from Dallas. So I would really love Mason Plumlee. I think he'd be the perfect fit for our team. Can play him alongside AD. I think hey, let's get to work if we sign him. Christian Wood has been floated out there. He hasn't signed anywhere yet. He's another player I find it hard to believe that he'd only come for the veteran minimum, despite his defensive liability. But that would be an interesting name for me. But if we get more into the true players that we can attain, there's Bismack Biyombo. There's Mo Bamba, bringing him back. Robin Lopez, Tristan Thompson. I think if we're looking into that group of players, the fringe is Jay Huff's out there, who I really liked when we dropped him. But I think for me, I would go for the Robin Lopez, Tristan Thompsons. I think that veteran presence is going to help a guy like Jackson Hayes. Tristan, for the 5, 6, 7 minutes he played in that playoff series was great. I don't know how much he can really give on a nightly basis within the season. We probably need around 10 to 15 minutes in that role. But if he was in shape, he could last the season. I don't mind Tristan Thompson's leadership. Robin Lopez would be awesome too. I don't know how much they're going to give you, but if they're out there, they know how to play within the team defense, they can get us some boards, somewhat defend the rim. I think we'll be okay with the amount of forwards that we have. But, Mo Bamba, talks of him coming back. With Jackson Hayes already on the roster, I know the skill set for Mo Bamba is unique. He can hit the three. He can block shots. He's that stretch big that I had mentioned in my wants. But I just don't think he's a gamer. I don't think he's a gamer. Very lackadaisical on the defensive end in terms of rotation. You almost wonder, do you really want to hoop? I don't know. I just didn't see that fire in him. Sure, he hit the three at 40% clip, but is he going to guard those bigger bigs in the playoffs, like the Jokic's and stuff? No, I think he's going to get lost. So I'm not a fan of bringing Bamba back. When he waived him, I didn't lose any sleep. So we'll see what we do there. But I think I do want more of a veteran presence in that 14th roster spot. So we'll see who we bring in. That takes me to, our new players, and then that finishes off the new players. So who did we re-sign? We brought all of our three back on great deals. Rui finished off at $17 million. Austin is going to be the best contract in the NBA. No one poison pilled him to drive up years 3 and 4. So we got him for around $14 million a year. I think there's a player option on the last year, but best contract in the NBA. I was ecstatic when I saw that. And then D'Lo came back on a 2-year 37, about 18 and a half a year. He's got a player option. And I think there's something around a semi-no trade type of clause. I still have to read into it with D'Lo. But I think with the player option, it gives D'Lo the chance to opt out, go get a bigger deal after this season. We don't know what's going to happen to LeBron after this season. So I think it gives flexibility, and I think it should motivate D'Lo to have a really big year. He does well. We have another deep playoff run and or go to the finals. And he plays well. He has a good playoff run. He'll be in the market back again for those bigger contracts that we were seeing with some of these point guards. And, I think there's motivation there. Was it an ideal contract for him? Probably not. But, that's the NBA. That's what happens. And when you don't perform in those big moments, those high leverage moments, they're going to be magnified, right? And that's exactly what we saw with D'Lo. And I think if he's going to be the opening day starter in my book, I'm very high on D'Lo. I think he has a great skill set. He was, again, in my first, episode, we kind of went over what we're trying to see, and I think he just needs to optimize his strengths and just play consistently. And I think if we get that there, especially in high leverage moments, he's going to have a great year. Great year. But I think overall, Rob did a great job. I think it was another masterclass. I think he filled all the holes that we were looking for to the best degree. We'll see what happens with that last big spot. I think a big takeaway out of this rotation is that we're really putting our confidence into Max Christie. We did not sign another two guard. I don't know if we'll do that with our 15th spot, but that backup two role after Reeves, to finish off our guard rotation, that's Max Christie's, and that's for him to lose. So I'm really excited for Summer League. We'll be there in Vegas, which is going to be a lot of fun, but I'm hoping Max Christie really takes that Summer League seriously. We see some confidence. We really see him as a player that knows he's good. He's got high IQ and really exerts himself and doesn't defer, right? But I think our roster build signals that, which I'm excited about. He's kind of the young that I want to see in the rotation. I think JSS, with the addition of Gabe Vincent, is going to be eased in slowly. He'll get G League reps, which I'm totally okay with. And even Max Lewis. Let's ease these guys in slowly. There's no rush. I didn't want to have expectation on our rookies, right? Castleton even too. These guys can be great players. We're going to see a lot in Summer League, but just to throw them in when we have kind of a championship mentality right now, I'm not sure if that's the best recipe. Will they be contributors? Yeah, sure. There's a chance. There's a possibility. In an 82-game season, there's a lot of opportunity to play. But I'm glad that with this roster build, we have value contracts. We kept our core intact. We added to the core, which a lot of playoff teams in the West did not. All of them did, right? But we did. And we added. We filled in some gaps. Value contracts will allow us to explore down the line if something's not working. And, we have a nice youth movement on our roster, too, that we don't need to depend on. They'll get G League reps. They'll get experience with our core. And I think Rob did as good as it can get. And I think if you ask me, did we win free agency? I think we're up there. Top 3. Phoenix kind of rounded out their roster. Cleveland had a great free agency. But I think we're right up there. Rob made noise after the trade deadline into free agency. He can't be a scapegoat anymore. Let's just put that there. The Russell Westbrook thing, sure, he was the last one to sign off. That was his control. But, outside influences, we won't go into that, but we'll dead all of that. But I think Rob has had a nice sequence of these big kind of time periods when we, players can move. I think he's done well. So we have one more roster spot to fill. We'll see how our youngs do in Summer League, but overall, I think there's a lot of excitement. We'll break down players further, our rotations further as we get into the offseason. But, very, very happy with where we're at. I think we have a lot to be excited about, Lakers Nation. And, we'll be in a good place. We'll see how we round out this roster. And, let's get to Summer League. If you happen to be in Vegas, make sure you hit me up, drop me a line on Twitter. And again, like me, hate me, just drop a comment and debate me. So, take some of these insights and these points. If you have any opinions, you don't agree with something, drop it in the comment. Let's debate, let's talk. And, again, follow me on Twitter at World of AO. But that'll wrap it up. We'll see you all next time. Thanks, bye.